Well, hey, everybody, glad to be with you again and have another great guest today that I'm super excited to have this conversation with on the topic of how great leaders ignite, protect, and multiply human potential. So, our guest today is Todd Bertsch. He's a keynote speaker, entrepreneur, and mental fitness coach, and he's the host of the Bolt podcast. His mission is to help leaders ignite, protect, and multiply human potential so people and organizations thrive. Drawing on more than 16 years as a CEO, Todd combines executive leadership experience with neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and mental fitness through his Spark Quotient, or SQ as it may be better known, research initiative and Spark framework. His engaging storytelling and practical insights help leaders navigate change, build resilient teams, and create workplaces where people can do their best work. So, welcome, Todd. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's always fun to connect with folks. We had a mutual connection that introduced us, and I love having that happen because I'm always looking for great people to bring on the show, and I really am interested in our conversation today because I've actually taken your assessment, and a few of my friends and colleagues have done that as well. We can talk about that a little bit maybe on the show, but I'm really excited about what you're doing because it sounds like it's so important, especially in today's marketplace. So. Before we actually dive into the topic, why don't you share with us, like, why do you do what you do and what led you to doing this?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, Chris, it stems from the journey. My journey, my experience through life and in my career. And one of the things that I noticed, Chris, as I was leading my company, I have a marketing company, 17 years I ran that company, and now coaching clients, executives, and leadership teams through mental fitness. I noticed that a lot of people are losing their luster
Mm,
for work, for life potentially. And that's what I call the spark.
mhm.
That's when I realized that there's so much potential in human beings, right? It's not a talent problem. It's a
Yeah.
it's really realizing the human potential that's in our organization. And I see the numbers, I'm sure like you, the Gallup polls,
Yep.
80% of people and managers disengaged.
Mhm.
SHRM reports that burnout and stress are at the top of workplace challenges.
Mhm.
We're living in the biggest uh, change disruption era that we've ever experienced before. So we have some real serious problems on our hands. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing the same numbers
Yeah.
year over year. And then personally seeing friends and colleagues have this experience of that spark dimming. And that's
Mhm.
that's what really drove me to this work. Not only my own experience, which I'm sure we'll get into and I'll share a few stories, but also seeing my employees and people that I coach see that spark dim. And when that spark dims, it leads to all kinds of problems, which essentially leads to burnout, disengagement, and stress, which I believe as leaders and organizations, we're all trying to solve that mystery.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's
it's
why I
very
do the
interesting.
work.
You brought, yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's interesting. You brought the Gallup poll up, because I was actually speaking to a group a week or so ago, and I was kind of going back and searching online to make sure the stats were about what I thought they still were. And it's like those stats have honestly not changed in over 25 years.
No,
And that blows my mind. Like you would think that when the poll is showing something
right.
that there's a solution out there that's helping to get better, but it is not getting better.
No, it's not. And that's
Wow.
a shame. That's a
Yeah.
problem.
So let's dig into this then. So what do you mean when you say great leaders are responsible for igniting, protecting, and multiplying that human potential? And why do you think that is so important today?
Absolutely. It all comes back to a spark, right? And I like to start off by talking about the show Survivor. You ever
Mhm.
seen the show?
Oh yeah.
Right? So in Survivor, fire represents your life in the game. Yes. Woo! I don't know if you can hear it. Yeah, the fire. That's the beauty of being close to downtown. There goes the fire engine. All right.
Right on cue.
Yep, right on cue. So anyhow, but yeah, it's all about the spark and then Survivor. So you watch the TV show Survivor, that fire represents your life in the game, right? As long as you have
Mhm.
fire, you're still in the game.
Sure.
But when Jeff comes over and he snuffs that fire,
Yep.
you're out. And I think a lot of times we can see life that way, right? It's that fire, that spark that's
Mhm.
within us. And when
Mhm.
that starts to dim, a little or a big piece of us starts to dim as well.
Mhm.
So what I've seen in organizations, or what I believe, is that leaders have a tremendous responsibility. And that responsibility is to help ignite or reignite that spark within our people, protect that spark, and then multiply that spark. And I can go through each one. So, igniting, right?
Mhm.
That's helping people connect with what really lights them up. What gets you up in the morning, Chris? Right? We were just talking about, I could tell podcasting lights you up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it if it didn't
Right.
light you up. Well, we go throughout the days, right? And we see this over time. It kind of turns into Groundhog Day. It reminds me of the movie with
Yeah.
Bill Murray, right? So
Mhm.
Bill Murray gets caught in this loop and he's doing the same thing over and over again. Nothing breaks that cycle until he chooses growth. He
Mhm.
chooses change. And that's how life feels like, right? We
Mhm.
start getting into autopilot.
Mhm.
We're just doing the same thing over and over, like Groundhog Day. We get up,
Yeah.
hit the alarm, take the dog for a walk, drive through traffic, get to work, sit in a million meetings, come home, make dinner, watch Jeopardy, go to bed, boop, rinse and repeat,
Yep.
right? And we're really not lit up. And when you start to go through the motions like that, there's a little piece of you that starts to dim, and
Mhm.
that's that spark. So I
Mhm.
believe that when we can reignite that spark, both within ourselves, right? I think that's important as leaders. If we're not lit up, how can we go light other people up? So
Right.
there's double responsibility there. You can't pour into an empty cup, right? If your cup's not full. So our responsibility is to ignite that. And there are a number of ways that I've kind of determined that you could reignite, but that's one. And then two is protecting that spark,
Mhm.
right? So it's one to light it, but as you know, as we talked about with the fire analogy, that fire just doesn't stay by itself, right?
Right.
You need to nurture it, just
Yeah.
as if you were to sit around a campfire. You need to add some logs, add some fuel, and
Mhm.
then put some stones around it. Protect
Mhm.
that baby so it keeps going. And
Yeah.
then the multiplier, right?
Yeah.
It's our job. Once you ignite and really protect it, it starts to multiply. And that's the
Yeah.
ripple effect.
Mhm.
When you see people lit up in the organization, when you see people choosing growth over comfort, it's contagious.
Mhm.
And that just spreads throughout the organization. And when there's a person that's lit up, there's the opportunity for them to light someone else up.
Yeah.
And then it just goes on and on and on. I've seen it in many organizations. And that's the beautiful part.
Yeah.
When you see a culture that's fully lit up,
Yeah.
those are the companies that are extremely successful.
Mhm. No, it's great that you say that. It's interesting because in my book, The Magnetic Leader, I talk about exuding enthusiasm, and I talk the fire metaphor specifically like you're talking about, and it
Mm,
starts with you. You got to light yourself up, right? Like you got to take care of you. And even in my framework, I talk about you have to lead yourself first before you can then lead other people. And there's a client that I worked with years ago that it does exactly what you're talking about. Is it's when there's certain people walk into the room, the atmosphere just changes and shifts in a positive
mm,
way, right? And that's how exactly how I experienced her, and I saw her team experience her. And she, always brought that energy, always brought that spark, and it was so attractive. And so it truly multiplied. And some people didn't even know how to handle it, honestly, Todd. Like
mm,
it's like some people were like, "Is this real?" But she was genuine, she was authentic, and she was
mm.
just full of that energy and passion. And over time, right? And over time, it took her team to kind of catch on and catch their own spark to get going. But it's happened, and I've seen a lot of positive growth as I've watched them since even engaging with them years ago. But you're right. And that's the cool thing too to me is it only may even take one person to really start, right? It doesn't need to be everybody, obviously, because not everybody's going to be there. So I love this. I think it's great because you're right. I mean, taking that responsibility as a leader is so critical that doing what you can do in order to help build that culture and light that flame inside a community of workers, employees, team members.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on something, Chris, that we probably should spend a minute on, which is that self-awareness.
Mm,
In all my conversations, you've probably seen the same thing on your show with leaders across the country. There's a through line, and that through line is there's not enough of self-awareness within the
yeah,
leaders,
yeah.
right? Really getting to know who you are.
Hmm.
And I think that really starts with insight. And that
Yeah.
insight could be an assessment, right?
Hmm.
There's great
Sure.
assessment tools out there.
Yep.
Clifton, Strengths Finders, right? We have DISC for personality traits. And then
Hmm.
the assessment that I created, the SQ or Spark Quotient Assessment, which
Hmm.
answers one question: how lit is your spark?
Yeah.
Where do you fall within that spark? And you know what was interesting, Chris, in my assessment, and I've been collecting data over the past several months, where do you think most people fall?
I'm
So
guessing on
there's,
the yeah, I'm guessing on the lowest tier.
yeah, not the low, but close. So we have smoke
Or
signal, which is the bottom. Then you have flicker, a little bit of spark, a little bit of fire, and then you have ember. It's going, but needs protection. And then you have the fire starter.
okay,
Most people fall in flicker to low ember.
really that middle territory.
Yep, which aligns with all the data that I've seen and the disengagement data, right? So
Okay.
it tells me that there is an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I educate people on is, look, that spark might have dimmed, but every person has a spark.
Yeah.
And every person has the opportunity to reignite it.
Hmm.
Or the leaders have an opportunity and a responsibility
Hmm.
to help reignite it, right?
Well, when you mentioned like the Gallup poll, the way I tend to explain like the engagement levels, there's the actively disengaged, and then there's the just plain disengaged, right? And I heard this years ago, and I think it really makes sense. Like the actively disengaged people are the ones who are kind of the troublemakers, right? Like they might be stealing, they might be disrupting intentionally, they might be causing a lot of trouble, but it's the ones I think that you're talking about, like in that middle territory, are just the disengaged people who I would just say they're apathetic. They don't have a real passion, or they're not drawn to a vision, maybe. Is that what you kind of find?
Absolutely. That is a huge piece, that middle piece. That's a huge segments of organizations. And that's where
Hmm.
the potential's at. Those are the
Yeah.
people that are stressed, burned out. And here's the thing, Chris, they're throwing up smoke signals. They're
Mm.
throwing up, I guess, tossing up.
Yeah.
That
Sending
doesn't
up.
sound good. I'm visualizing that thinking, oh, okay, that's not right. They're tossing up, right? Smoke
Yeah.
signals. And we see it. So, and here's what the smoke signals look like. Curiosity starts to shut down, ownership
Mhm.
fades, right? Our ability to just be creative and innovative
Mm.
is kind of stifled, right?
Okay.
We start getting reactive instead of protective or proactive, right?
Hmm.
So these are the smoke signals. And as leaders, we need to be the ones that see that smoke
Yeah.
and intervene,
Mm.
have those conversations with people.
Mm.
And that's where I think there's a gap. One, knowing the smoke, and two, seeing it. It's
Yeah.
there. It's data. Data's all around us.
Yeah.
But what's happening with the leadership, at least what I'm seeing in this particular time, is that they don't have the time. So we're
Yeah.
working with smaller teams, but managing more people, taking
Yeah.
on more work, and we either don't know how to block our calendar or we're not making that commitment to block and tackle and to really
Hmm.
spend the time with our team and really get to know your people, which we'll go into in a little bit. But
Yeah.
if you don't see the smoke, then you can't intervene. But that is the responsibility. And once you intervene, you can start to have that conversation to help reignite it.
Mm. So you're bringing up something. I mean, especially with the smaller team, more nimble, and really a root cause of it for many people is the implementation or adoption of AI. And
Mhm.
what does that look like in today's world? So, with AI and technology changing the workplace so quickly, why do you believe that people are still an organization's greatest competitive advantage?
Well, yeah, look, AI is in every conversation, right? It's changed. It's one of the biggest change disruptions we've
Hmm.
seen. It's changing whole organizations. It's disrupting entire professions.
Hmm.
Our day to day is changing. Fine, it's great. We've been here before. We just came off of COVID. I think people are forgetting what we just went through. We are
Right.
the most resilient people ever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've been through some stuff here. Let's
Yeah.
not forget that. We are resilient, but we are so quick to go back under our bubble and
Mm-hmm.
be protected. Um, AI is not going away. It's just another change. So
Hmm.
how do we handle that? And yes, humans, right? We need to get back to taking care of our people and
Hmm.
really. leveraging the human potential in our organizations. AI is going to handle a lot of the daily mundane tasks, the data crunching, the spreadsheets, all the stuff that most people don't like to do. Maybe some like to nerd out on it. But I
Sure.
think there's more of an opportunity here, Chris, than anything else. I love AI. I use it all day long, but
Mhm.
it also scares the crap out of me. It
Yeah.
does. And that fear creates uncertainty. And I
Mhm.
think every single person is feeling that uncertainty right now. And that's
Mhm.
okay. That's natural. That's how we
Mhm.
are as human beings. But the problem is when we experience that, we start to go into survival mode, right?
Yeah.
Our brain just naturally shifts. And when we
Yeah.
shift into survival, we shut down. And when we
Mhm.
shut down, guess what happens? There goes the smoke. And
Yeah.
then there goes burnout. There goes disengagement. And if you don't intervene, they
Yeah.
leave. And there goes your retention
Yeah.
rates. And then you're
Mhm.
going, so there's the cost piece, right? The
Yeah.
cost disengagement, we're losing trillions of dollars in
Yeah.
productivity, which is affecting the bottom line. And then we're also losing a lot of money in recruitment, the cost, right? There's very high numbers in the cost of recruitment and trying to replace a role depending on the role
Mhm.
and the salary.
Sure.
So yes, this can definitely help those numbers and the bottom line.
Mhm.
But AI, yeah, AI isn't going away. Humans are our biggest advantage. And the one thing that like humans have is that natural curiosity,
Mhm.
right? AI can answer all the questions, but we are the ones that have that innate curiosity. And I believe that is our superpower and something that we need to
Mhm.
really leverage and take advantage of.
Mhm.
So those are
Yeah.
becoming the curiosity, emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
adaptability, creativity, leadership, like those are becoming the new premium skills.
Wow. Yeah, and I agree. I think that you just see so much of that is, people have been so fearful about AI just replacing everybody. It's like, who's going to manage the AI? Who's going to cross-check things? Because, I was talking to somebody and they were like, we've used AI, and she said, like I looked at the results and they were completely wrong, but if somebody just accepted them for what they said, because it's AI and they just believed it. It's like, no, we still have experiences. We still have our own knowledge that we need to tap into and not forget about as humans. And I think that to me, I always think it's like pendulum swinging, right, Todd? Is we always seem as human beings go so hard to one direction, and then we have to kind of come back to center. And I feel like that's the journey we're on right now with AI is, you can't replace everybody with AI. That's not realistic or wise, but you can use it in a strategic, intentional, thoughtful way. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, one of my recent guests, he's actually a PhD, and he's actually consulting with companies about how do you ethically and wisely implement AI into your
Yep.
organization, because this is a big issue for a lot of companies. So, like you said, it's in every conversation. It seems like every day I can't pass a day where it's not brought up, to your point.
That
And it's like I think it's awesome tools that I'm probably not even scratching the surface of what's available out there. But at the end of the day, I still like we were talking, like remote work is great, but there's also this like innate need to be in the room with people,
mm-hmm.
So it's like this tension that we've been navigating since COVID, as you mentioned, because when everybody went remote and went home, then you start to see a lot of the sparks starting to go out for a lot of people because they get energy from being in the room with people.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I love the pendulum. You're absolutely right. I think we're going to do that exactly that. We're going to come
Mhm.
back. I was just having a conversation with some business owners yesterday, talking specifically about governance. Like that
Mhm.
is, to your point, like that is going to be one of the biggest opportunities. Is
Mhm.
what and how do we do this?
Yeah.
And really putting some guardrails up and
Yeah.
providing that clarity and guidance
Mhm.
to our teams
Yeah.
to alleviate some of that uncertainty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a really important thing for these next several years, I think, to figure this out. But so that kind of leads me to this next question then, because we're talking about this human side of things. Is one of your leadership principles is to know the human before the employee. So what does that look like in everyday leadership?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to Gallup, Chris, because Gallup is, one of the most credible organizations out there, right? And we really take a lot of take a lot of power in their data. So
Hmm.
Gallup published a report a couple of years ago that said the number one way to increase engagement is to spend one 30-minute one-to-one with every person on your team each week.
Hmm.
That's it. One 30-minute one-to-one each week. So that to me goes back to knowing your people.
Hmm.
And to know your people, you have to spend the time.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the other problem, like not having, not making, as middle managers, not knowing, hey,
Yeah.
this is an important, yes, you have all these other tasks that you need to do, but guess what? Our number one is our people. Without our people, we don't have an organization. We don't have a culture. So we need to focus on our people. And I've seen it in my organization. I've seen it in other organizations. It's about really knowing your people. And when you spend that time, Chris, you get to know them as a human being. Like they're trusting us with their lives, their careers, their families,
Right.
and they're bringing everything. They're bringing their stress,
Yeah.
their families, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, right? It's a tremendous responsibility as a leader
Hmm.
to have that person under our team. So
Yes.
we need to take care of them. And how do we do that is by knowing our people. And
Mhm.
that's really seeing them, listening, being curious, spending time with them, and knowing what's going on in their life. If you have a one-to-one, spend the first 5 to 10 minutes just catching up. Hey, how's your kids doing? I know, like you said, you have a kid that's getting ready to graduate, getting ready to take driving lessons.
Mhm.
Know it. One of your employees just had to put one of their pets down. Like
Yeah.
these are real human things. That's going to affect work,
Right.
right? That's leading with empathy, being
Mhm.
curious, asking that second question, not just, I'm
How
fine.
you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, no. How are you really doing, Chris?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in your life, man? I want to get to know you. And when you have all those nuances, oh man, you build that
Mhm.
trust.
Yeah.
And then you can see the smoke. Or they might
Mhm.
even come to you and say, hey, I'm expressing some burnout, some
Mhm.
stress, right? That's the type of relationship that we can really work together, collaborate on before the smoke signals appear. So
Right.
that's why I feel like
Mhm.
really knowing the human being is incredibly important.
Mhm.
And if we take care of our people, we recognize, we see the smoke, we intervene, keep that spark lit. That's to me, that's one of the most important keys.
I love this because I feel like you and I could be like long lost brothers in this whole journey about leadership because so much of what you just said is what I've been learning and doing and talking about for years myself. And I think back, you're talking about the meeting with people one on one. And I remember years ago when I took over a team, it was very disconnected. There was a lot of people, it's kind of turf wars and not a lot of collaboration and cohesiveness. And I did a couple of things. One is I started, doing regular team meetings to get everybody in the same room and on the same page. That helped a lot. But then I implemented the one-on-ones and really and did what you talked about. It was about the holistic person, not just the role that they were playing.
Mm,
And in fact, one of our team members, he came to us after a period of time and he said, I think that I've been doing this job for 10 years. I think I need to do something different. And so we actually helped him transition into something different outside of our organization, but the relationship didn't get damaged. There was no harm done to, it was all a very smooth process because we'd been investing all that time up front, engaging with him, and I would have these one-on-one meetings and I'd be hearing his heart as much as his tasks and how he was doing on projects and things. And one of my once again going back to my book, the Magnetic Leader, I have number one in my chapter one is about meeting needs, and I talk about you can't meet people's needs if you don't meet with them to know their needs.
hmm
And so you're speaking my language, man. I love it because I think it's so critical to just think about the holistic person because like you said, what happens at home comes to work, what happens at work goes home. And I just feel like there's so many leaders that I don't think they intentionally ignore this. I just think it in the busyness and the chaotic nature of leadership and just day-to-day work, they just let it kind of fall to the wayside or they lose sight
Yep.
of that. Is that kind of your understanding?
Yeah, it's twofold. I think, yes, one, we just don't make the time for it, right? We just
Mhm.
have too much going on. We get busy ourselves, and then next thing you know, a year goes, oh, it's annual review time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's catch up. And I think the other thing is that I've seen a big issue with is middle management. They just don't get the training, right?
Hmm.
Somebody was great in this particular role. They seem best suited. Let's move them up. And here you go to the Sharks, and there's no training. It's like, no, you need to know that this is extremely important, and you need to figure out, and we're going to give you the time to spend with the team. And I think we're just managing too many people as well. I think five is the max, honestly.
Okay.
Five is the max to really understand and know your people. And when you do that, they trust you and they stay. Like you, I'll be honest, one of the ways I learned this, Chris, was I didn't do it. I didn't do it early on. And
Mhm.
it hurt us. We had a revolving door. And that was one of the reasons I just didn't see it. I didn't understand. I wasn't being an active listener. I was talking
Mhm.
too much. I was assuming too much. I was judging too much.
Okay.
Well, when you take a step back and really listen and be curious and ask the second and third question, most people just want to be seen and heard, right?
Yeah.
If you've managed people, they're complex human beings, but they're pretty simple in their needs. That's
Yeah.
all. They just want to be part of the conversation. Some
Mhm.
people need a half hour, others might need 45 minutes, 60
Yeah.
minutes. But you need to give them the time. And once you understand who they are, what drives them, and what lights them up,
Yeah.
that's the key, right? I love what you said. You had the meeting. It's okay. Sometimes you just can't move somebody into a new role
Right.
because this is what really lights them up. Someone else is already there and they're feeling it fine.
Yeah.
Would you rather have somebody with a dim spark, which is that disengaged person just
Yeah.
going through the motions, or have them leave and recruit somebody that's fully lit up that wants this role, right?
Yeah.
What's going to be best suited for your company long term?
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think it's just such a vital and important thing. And to your point, it's got to be an intentional choice, like, right, for
Mm-hmm.
leaders to make that. Like you said, it's you didn't do it and you learned the hard way. I mean, whether we've seen it modeled in a good way or whether we learn the hard way, really does how we get there doesn't matter as long as we get there, right?
That's it. That's what leadership's all about,
Yeah.
is acknowledging your failures and seeing them as lessons,
Hmm.
owning it, and then taking some action to be better.
Mm.
That's just it. And when you model that, your team sees that too,
Yeah.
right? And when your spark's lit, your team sees that too.
Right.
Your energy is contagious,
Yeah.
right? It literally is like a yawn. That energy
Mm.
you bring is going to be contagious. So you
Mm.
can you can really affect other people within your team and your organization to
Yeah.
help, light them up.
Mm. Now, you actually teach some very practical tools as well, things like an internal pause button, and I think it's called the reframe game. Can you
Hmm.
maybe share about those a little bit or share one that listeners could even start using immediately?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our so I'll start with the reframe game. This is all about your mindset. What a lot of people, especially managers, don't realize is how powerful our mindset is. Our mindset dictates how we think, feel, and behave in every situation.
Hmm.
And that mindset is a culmination of all our life experiences from the day we were born to this very day.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of people, they never change their mindset. So they carry these outdated beliefs that they
Yeah.
had as a child to protect them, the kind of the survival, right? And we
Hmm.
need, it's like a pair of glasses, like you're wearing right there. You update those prescriptions every year, every other year, right? And we need to do that with our mindset. So one of the simple things that we can do is called the reframe game, and it's a mindset shift. Now I'll give you a great example. Let's take AI, okay?
Hmm.
So here I come in AI as an I have to statement, okay? Oh, Chris, I have to use AI or I'm going to be obsolete and I might lose my job. I have to.
Hmm.
Okay, let me come back in. Hey, Chris, I get to learn AI. I get to get out of my comfort zone, stretch, learn, help my organization, right?
Yeah.
But here's the best part. Here's the gift and opportunity. You know what, Chris? AI can handle most of my daily mundane tasks, so I can work on the things that light me up.
Yeah.
Obligation, opportunity, gift. We
Yeah.
all love
Mm.
gifts. Let's go
Yeah.
get some gifts. There's a
Hmm.
gift and opportunity in every scenario. You have to be open and curious enough to see it. It might not be there today or tomorrow, but it will be there. And when you reframe, when you have that lens, Chris, you see every situation in a whole new light. You're more positive, more grateful, and you're in a growing, learning mindset.
Mhm.
That's how you lead, not to be stifled by negativity, stress, or self-doubt, which a lot of people do under pressure or in a challenging situation. So that
Mhm.
is, you can take that back to the office today,
Yeah.
and take it home. You can
Yeah.
reframe anything.
Yeah.
It's a very simple tactic.
Mhm. No, I love that because it is like you said, it's a shift we can all make, right? It's not something that only a few elite can do. It's
Mhm.
everybody can think, and I think that's that whole thing, right? I mean, I've heard it probably years ago, is like watching a car accident and all the different perspectives of what happened during the accident. And when I'm a very positive, energetic, enthusiastic person by nature. I have my moments for sure, but for me, people know something's up when I'm not that way, right? And
Mhm.
so I look at things from a very positive side of things and try to find the silver lining, find the good things, find the opportunities like you're mentioning and the gift of it. But I'm amazed how many people, they only see the negative, they only see the obstacle, they only see the problem. And I feel like that's a big part of all the mental challenges that people are facing today in our society is, if we're stuck scrolling the internet, on social media or mass media or whatever, everything's going to come across negative, it seems like. But there's also opportunities amidst all this. We're living in this incredible day and age and this incredible time. And yes, there are problems, and no nation, no government, no politician is perfect, right? But the reality is we all have more control today or more opportunity today than maybe we've ever had in human history to make an impact and a difference. But that in itself is a mindset, right? Like some people
Mhm.
don't think that at all.
Chris, I could go on for days about this. Yeah, you are speaking. You're entering my zone here. Yes, we all have a choice to make, right? So the
Hmm.
the problem, the challenge is that, and we know this. This is a fact. The thousands of thoughts that we have every single day are negative. We
Mm,
are negative biased people.
mm.
We're not broken. That's how we are. That's how we're built. That was to keep us
It's a survival
healthy.
mechanism, right?
It's a survival. It served our ancestors, right? Bear, saber-toothed tiger, run. But not
Right.
everything is danger,
Yeah.
right? Not everything needs to be so negative. And again, there's that contagion effect.
Yeah.
So, what I say as a leader, your people are coming to you, you're responsible. Be the positive one. And not
Hmm.
not fake positivity, right?
Right.
But really see the silver lining or just see the opportunity in it.
Yeah.
It's a simple reframe. And sometimes, Chris, you just accept it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just accept it. You can't convert it into a gift, but you accept it with peace and calm and you don't let it sabotage you. And
Yeah.
that's where mental fitness comes in,
That's
right?
awesome. Years ago, I was working with a management team in an IT company, and they're dealing with problems all day long, and,
Oh
and that's
gosh,
their that's
absolutely.
their they're like the technical firefighters, right?
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was they didn't use the word problems or obstacles. They talked about opportunities. That was their corporate language inside the team. And it took me a while to pick. I kept hearing this. I'm like,
Mhm.
they were reframing it all the time
Yeah.
because you could tell that it was like this. They had this intentional conversation over probably months and years that we're not going to go down the negative path. We're going to look at it as the opportunity. And as I even think back now, all these years later, just what that did for their culture and their mindset as a team, yeah, they had problems, but those problems to them were opportunities to solve and not just problems to kind of sulk in, right? And to kind of
Right.
wallow in the mud. So, yeah, that's awesome. I think that how much better would culture be, team culture be, the climate of the
Hmm.
organization be if people were doing this reframing more intentionally?
Yeah, and what's interesting, Chris, is I've seen it within my organization, my marketing company, because we have that shared language. So our
Hmm.
whole company is experiencing that. We always
Hmm.
look for the reframe, right?
Hmm.
So once you have a few people in leadership, then it starts to spread. Then
Hmm.
you don't have those detractors or those negative people, right? Because it's just not cool, right? Everyone
Right.
else is. It doesn't mean that we don't have negative emotions, right?
Sure.
Sure, not everything is puppies and rainbows,
Right.
but there is an opportunity to see things a little bit differently. And
Uh,
I love that story because IT is one of probably the easiest roles to be negative all day long.
mm, mm,
And that right there was a very intentional move in that company. There was somebody in leadership that said, hey, we need to quit this, right?
Yeah.
One, for us and our culture, but our
Yeah.
clients, if I'm coming to you, my server's down, I just got hacked, I just got some sort of virus, I'm like really hurting.
Yeah.
And I don't need to experience that, right? Any way that you can lighten the load or put it in a positive light, opportunity, right? It's an
Yeah.
opportunity for them. I mean, that's what they signed up for, to solve
Mhm.
problems, to
Yeah.
put out fires. That's just the job.
Yeah.
So if you're not lit up by that, you should probably seek out another profession.
Yeah. Well, I even think it's like an operating statement of what you just kind of said is look for the reframe. Like you could have that, you could be talking about that in the middle of a team meeting, right? A staff meeting. Somebody,
Mhm.
there's a problem, challenge are going on. It's like, okay, let's look for the reframe here and figure this out. I mean, to me, that's something that, like you said, can truly be implemented today, immediately, and just start shifting everything. So I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
So if every leader listening remember just one thing about developing people instead of simply managing them, what would you want it to be?
Oh, every person has a spark.
Mm,
And over time, that spark can dim.
mm,
But there is an obligation and an opportunity for the leader to help reignite that spark, to protect that spark, and help multiply that spark within the organization.
mm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to give you the opportunity, Todd. I love what you're doing. You and I just kind of met through a mutual acquaintance, right? But I love all you're doing here and hearing what you're saying today. Tell people how do they engage with you? How do they follow you? What are you up to? Because I know that when we first started connecting about even doing this interview, you sent me the link to your assessment. I took that, I shared it with some friends, and they were taking it and telling me that they were enjoying it. I think you got a book coming out. Like, tell us
Mhm.
what's going on in your world and how people connect with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can go to my website, toddbertsch.com, and that's Bertsch, very German spelling. Or I have all the misspellings of it as well, so it'll redirect you. Very costly venture to cover all those misspellings, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, but
Yeah.
definitely on LinkedIn. I would love to connect with your listeners, learn
Yeah.
more about their story and their journey, what lights them up, you know.
Right.
But yeah, this Chris, this journey of mine's been interesting. The transition from owning a company, being the
Hmm.
leader for 17 years. And here's the thing, Chris, the last 2 years ago, I saw the smoke.
Mm,
I saw the smoke. I wasn't lit up anymore. I just
mm,
wasn't. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. What really feeds me is building, creating, connecting with people like yourself. And I didn't have that. My cup
mm,
wasn't full. And I saw it in my journal. I saw a pattern, and that pattern was, you're not happy, Todd. And
mm.
I'm too damn old not to be happy with what I'm doing. I like to work and I want to be lit up and I deserve to be lit up by the work that I'm doing. And so does everybody else.
Yeah.
So I saw the smoke and I intervened on my own journey. And I said, okay, this is what I love to do. I love to speak. I love to be on stage. I love to coach. I've been through this program, Positive Intelligence, the
Hmm.
mental fitness program. It changed my life. It's changed my team's life, the way I run my company. So I can really, put my hand on this program and lead this.
Hmm.
And that's led to the book, which the book led to, I put that on pause because it led to this Spark assessment tool, which
Hmm.
led to the Spark framework, coaching framework. So it's just been very organic. And I go
Hmm.
back to, I had a leadership coach for several years, Chris, and you'll appreciate this. And she taught me many things, but the one thing that always sticks with me, I'm glad that it stuck, was embrace the journey.
Hmm.
Embrace the journey. It's not going to be straight. It's going to zig and zag.
Yeah.
But if you're just focused on the end game and
Yeah.
checking that box, getting to the summit, you're not going to be happy. So I'm just enjoying the process, meeting people, making mistakes, learning, starting this new venture,
Mm.
and collecting some data. And next year, hopefully, I'll put out this book, Ignite Your Spark, and it'll change some lives. It'll help if
Mm.
it helps one person, right?
Oh
That's why
yeah.
we do the podcast, to share stories of leadership stories of
Yeah.
people's failures, mistakes,
Yeah.
and get a little vulnerable. And that's what this is all about. Just being human, getting
Wow.
back to just treating human beings like we want to be treated and taking
Yeah.
care of them.
No, I love that. And I'll put all your information in the show notes, obviously, for people to connect with you on as well, because I definitely want them to be able to do that. But Todd, thanks so much for taking the time today to talk about this because you've lit me up, man, just talking about this. And, it's one of those things where I think that people are chasing that passion so much in the work and society, and yet they're struggling because they don't know how to find it or how to really get themselves going, right? And so I'm super excited for what you're doing, your podcast, the book coming out, and all the research you're doing because like you said, I think that once you can package all that, put it all together for people to really go through and understand, I think I'm hoping and I believe that a lot of people are going to be able to really get that spark back and help their team members do the same. So we've got to stay connected. So as the book comes out, we can re-promote that back out into the world too. But thanks again for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for the kind words. It's great to hear that it resonated with you, and for you to say that you feel lit up today. That's it, man. That's why I do it. That's the goal.
Yeah,
So I love it. I'm
yeah,
excited. Hopefully, your listeners, feel the same way. And please
sure,
reach out, connect, and let's. You and I definitely are going to stay connected.
absolutely, good deal.